Good afternoon, Commissioners. Melissa Dickens, Planning Commission staff. This item is HC/CPA 1709B. It is a proposed map amendment to the Conservation and Aquifer Recharge element. It would be an amendment to the adopted Wellhead Resource Protection Areas map. This is a privately initiated amendment to modify the Wellhead Resource Protection Areas map in the Conservation and Aquifer Recharge element. This amendment was previously part of CPA 1709, which was heard by you at a briefing back in June, and has since been bifurcated into two separate publicly and privately initiated amendments. The privately initiated amendment affects the Section 21 protection area. This is the protection area for the Section 21 well field, which is owned and operated by Tampa Bay Water and provides a portion of the regional drinking water supply. The amendment would replace the current Wellhead Resource Protection Areas map with an updated version that identifies the general location of changes to the protection area, as well as adds a footnote describing the modifications. It would also adopt one additional map into the CARE that details the modified areas. This map shows the current adopted Wellhead Resource Protection Areas map, minus the legend, which would have been a little too tough to see at this scale. And I do apologize for the quality of the image. I did want to show the adopted map in its entirety. The full map is in your packets on page 7. And the Section 21 protection area, which is in the northwest portion of the county, is here. I can't get the mouse to work. Is here where the red arrow points to. And as we go to the following slide, I will be zooming in on this area. So you can see the slide is zoomed in to show the proposed revisions to the map. The area around the Section 21 well field is grayed out. A footnote is proposed to be added in this location, and you can see the text of the footnote at the bottom of the screen. And the full version of this map is in your packets on page 11. This slide shows a comparison between the current adopted Section 21 protection area and the proposed amendment. The map on the left represents the current adopted map. You can see the capture zone modeling depicted in fuchsia. The Zone 2 protection area is depicted here in green. This Zone 2 protection area constitutes both the capture zone and then as well as a buffer that extends out to the nearest quarter section. The Section 21 protection area, as proposed by the amendment, is on the map on the right. The fuchsia represents the applicant's capture zone modeling, and the significant change is that this capture zone modeling area would also serve as the Zone 2 protection area without the quarter section buffering that currently exists on the adopted map. And Section 21 is also within the Zone 1 protection area. This is not proposed to be modified as part of this amendment. The proposed change would modify the capture zone and the Zone 2 wellhead protection area for the Section 21 well field. And the other impact of this amendment would be the removal of the existing quarter section buffer for Section 21. As I mentioned on the previous slide, the capture zone, as shown on that previous map, would serve as the entire Zone 2 protection area for Section 21. This removal of the buffering to the nearest quarter section would represent a change in methodology from the methodology used to create the original map, and is also different from the methodology being proposed by the county in their bifurcated portion of the map amendment, which will be heard to you by you this evening in a public hearing. I also wanted to take the time to respond to a previous Planning Commissioner question on 1709, which was the previous iteration of this amendment. There was a question raised during the June briefing, and it was requested that it be brought back before you all to discuss it. And this was on the location of sinkholes with respect to the current protection areas. Planning Commission staff obtained a GIS shapefile from the Florida Geological Survey, which shows some site incidents. This would be considered the best available data for sinkholes. And here you can see the subsidence incidence information overlaid on the current Section 21 adopted Zone 2 protection area. This item was provided for agency comments, and comments will be provided prior to the November Planning Commission public hearing. In terms of next steps, there's no action required today, and this item will be brought back before you on November 13th for a public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Any public comment on this item? Any questions? Oh, please come forward. State your name and address.
Good afternoon, Joel Tu and Associates. I am land use counsel and represent a property owner in the vicinity of the Section 21 Wellfield Jurassic Van Dyke Retail Center LLC. We are now by default the private applicant on the plan amendment. And I'd like to start there, just have 4 or 5 brief comments to try to give you a general overview so you get an idea of how we got where we are, where we think we're headed, and what you will be hearing at the public hearing in November generally. This started out as a county-initiated plan amendment. And that's very important to understand that we're here in this position by default as a private applicant. We discovered the issue, brought the issue to the county's attention. The county made a decision to request some science, request some updated modeling, accepted that modeling, and initiated the application as a county-initiated plan amendment to make a map amendment. There was some review and pushback from Tampa Bay Water on the technical scientific side that has required a lot of digging in and debate over model assumptions. As Mr. Dowdy, I guess he's the only one professionally trained here to explain this to us. I've learned that hydrology might be as much art as science. It appears to be a mix of both when you're running these sophisticated hydrological models. The long story short is we are continuing to work. We have spent months and months, tens of thousands of dollars on the modeling. We're continuing to work with Tampa Bay Water. They are here today. Our consultants are meeting again with their staff and their consultants for a technical meeting on Wednesday. I'm the eternal optimist. I'm hoping that by the time we get back on November 13th, there'll be an agreement among those scientists on what is a rational, logical, fair, and appropriate model and what are the results. So that's where we are. Here's what brought this about. This ordinance was adopted in 2004 based upon a 2002 scientific model and study. That model is now 15 years old. The science has progressed dramatically. Different model is used, much more precise model, more accurate model. We're using the agreed model that everyone agrees is appropriate that SwiftMud uses. There's no issue about that. But there are assumptions that the modeler has to make going into that based upon actual field conditions, actual location, etc. This ordinance contemplated on its face, if you read it, the ordinance specifically says that it is to be reviewed and updated regularly. And that's because it's based upon science, it's based upon assumed well pumping permits, assumed well withdrawal data, and all that has changed. So we have dramatic change in the science. The goal here is to get it correct. There may be some areas that previously were marked as protected that should not be. There may be others that weren't protected that should be. But Tampa Bay Water's permit has substantially changed in 15 years, and that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of. We're simply looking at the correct scientific answer that the map is based upon. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Welcome.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. David Smith at Gray Robinson, 401 East Jackson Street. We represent Tampa Bay Water. I can't disagree with much what Joel said. That's an accurate description of exactly what has proceeded. We're in the process of having the various engineers speak to one another as only engineers can do. And I had the abject thrill of attending one of those sessions. They're going to do it again this Wednesday at 9 a.m. I will be safely ensconced in my own office. But the analysis that is involved is very difficult. It's detailed. And as Joel said, it relies on certain assumptions. And our values as an organization are that we value and support private property rights. So we want to make sure we have given Mr. Two's client every opportunity to convince us of that which is reasonable with regard to the risk of the potable water supply for the public. And we're doing that. Of course, our number one value, however, is to protect the quality and safety of the water for the public. If we can become convinced that we can accomplish both of those objectives, we will do what needs to be done to make that happen. So we're in the process of having those discussions. As I said, there will be, and as Joel said, there'll be another discussion Wednesday morning. And hopefully, by the way, they have made considerable progress. They agree on the models, they being the expert engineers on both sides. And now the question is, what are the relevant and most applicable assumptions to make in running those models? And so we're working on that. I won't bog you down in that esoterica today. We'll see what happens Wednesday. And we will have, of course, a full presentation in conjunction with the public hearing. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any additional public comment on this item?
Good afternoon, Barbara Adderhill, 5215 Wilcox Road. I wasn't in favor of this in June. I haven't really changed my mind because what we're doing is we're updating our wellhead protection parcel by parcel. If it needs to be updated, and since it was done in 2002 or again in 2004, perhaps that's what should be done, but I don't think we need to do it by parcel. I think we either go by quadrants or by watersheds, something scientific that makes sense. But to do this just for one parcel, and of course we did one that's coming up in the public hearing, and that again is for a parcel. And I think we're creating a domino effect. I think it's a precedent that I don't think we should be setting. I don't think it's prudent for us to be doing that. So I look forward to the November hearing, I think. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Jan Smith. I live within a half a mile of 6 production wells at Section 21 Wellfield. You've heard me speak about sinkholes and all in the past, and the issues that my neighborhood is surrounded by people on public supply, but my neighborhood is all on well and septic tank, approximately 135 homes. The only thing I will say to you is that I want to know exactly what supplies are coming online, new additional supplies of water that can replace 13 million gallons on an average day out in that area. Can you risk the chance of putting a gas station on the northeast corner of Van Dyke and Dale Mabry? Can you risk your public water supply just to do that? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comment? No further public comment? This isn't an action item, so that's